So let me be clear, this video is for fans who are just being exposed to the series. Maybe you're a little bit younger, or maybe for whatever reason you decided to give Dragon Ball Super a shot and you're the kind of person who want to know the entire story, but you're being bombarded with everything at once. So Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball Multiverse, the list goes on, and it's not clear where to start. Plus, when you try to look it up, you only find top level conversations about the definition of canon and there's no real canon, etc, etc. All of that is nonsense. So in this video, I'm just going to cut straight to it and tell you what to watch or read to catch up on the story and give you a quick synopsis of everything. Spoiler alert, it's Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and nothing else. Let's get to it. So the story starts with Dragon Ball. Just plain old Dragon Ball, no Z, no GT, nothing. Just Dragon Ball. And this is where we are first introduced to Goku. The anime of Dragon Ball is 153 episodes, and it's an adaptation of the manga of Dragon Ball, which is a total of 194 chapters written by Akira Toriyama. Since the anime is an adaptation of the manga, there are slight differences at various points throughout the show, but for the most part, the manga and the anime tell the same exact story. So it's up to you if you want to read or watch this to fully catch up on the beginning of the series. Just as a quick synopsis, again, Dragon Ball is the introduction to Goku. He's a strong and lovable but kind of dumb kid, and after meeting Bulma, the two set out to gather the 7 Dragon Balls. Goku then becomes a student of martial arts under the tutelage of Master Roshi. He meets, competes, and fights against a bunch of other people, a lot of which are the core of the franchises to come after Dragon Ball, like Krillin, Piccolo, Yamcha, and Tien. He also takes down different sets of bad guys in the process. For the most part, Dragon Ball is a pretty fun series. It's over 30 years old at this point, but you'll likely still enjoy it, and it had a similar but at the same time different feel to it. It was more than a show that was just about fighting. It was more of an adventure story that happened to include some martial arts and very strong over-the-top fighters. Let's continue. The next show that you'll want to watch in the series is Dragon Ball Z. Like Dragon Ball Z is an adaptation of the Dragon Ball manga, which continued the story already established in the original Dragon Ball manga. You do not have to read or watch Dragon Ball to understand Dragon Ball Z, but if you have the time, I recommend you go back and check out Dragon Ball. You're gonna love it. Either way, Dragon Ball Z has a total of 325 corresponding manga chapters written and drawn by Akira Toriyama. Again, there are small differences between the anime and the manga, but for the most part, they both tell the same exact story, so you can either read or watch this one to catch up. Now, there's a remake of the original Dragon Ball Z anime called Dragon Ball Z Kai, and in that remake they update the graphics and art quite a bit, and they are also a bit more true to the manga, to the source material. I believe the episode count is also a bit less than the original, so if your goal is just to catch up as quickly as possible and you don't often read manga, then you might want to check out Dragon Ball Z Kai. Just as a quick synopsis, where Dragon Ball really only followed Goku, Dragon Ball Z continued that by following adult Goku, but at the same time that story is also parallel with the story of the life of Goku's son, Gohan. We got a lot more development for Goku's rival, Piccolo, and it introduced Vegeta. Dragon Ball Z is also where the series started to see massive success in the United States, and it was an introduction to anime for a lot of Western fans. If you're watching Dragon Ball Super without watching Dragon Ball Z, then you are really doing yourself a disservice. Dragon Ball Z will enhance a lot of the stories now being told in Dragon Ball Super. I want to add a quick side note here before we continue. There is a total of 13 Dragon Ball Z movies, none of which are considered canon. You can completely skip all of these movies if you want, and it'll take absolutely nothing from the story. I don't recommend you do this because they're entertaining movies, but again, they're not canon. You can consider their stories more what-if scenarios than anything else. After Dragon Ball Z, there's a story called Jacko the Galactic Patrolman, written by Akira Toriyama, that takes place between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. That is considered canon. I believe it only exists in manga form, so if you want to to check it out, you'll have to read it. In all honesty, it's not really a must-read kind of thing. It does introduce the Galactic Patrolman to the series, but if you skip this, you'll probably be fine. Let's move on to Dragon Ball Super. This is where things get spicy. Most, if not all of you guys listening to this are already familiar with Dragon Ball Super. To put it as bluntly as possible, if you only watch the anime of Dragon Ball Super, you are perfectly fine. The movies and manga for Dragon Ball Super can be looked at as supplementary work. Now, if you are a Super fan and you are concerned about what to do when a minor contradiction pops up, then you can check out one of the many high-level videos and discussions that I talked about earlier about the definition of canon and such. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to tell you what to watch and what to expect to learn and fully understand the entire Dragon Ball story. What does this mean? This means that everything not mentioned in this video is not part of the official Dragon Ball story. It is not canon. There are a lot of stuff that can be canon based on how you want to define the word. I'm defining it as stories created by Akira Toriyama, essential to understanding the Dragon Ball universe. Dooku, I'm just gonna come clean with you guys. The real purpose of this video is to stop the comments on Dragon Ball Super related videos where someone goes, what about X character from Dragon Ball Heroes? Anyway, that's it for me. I hope the video was at least a bit informative. We're gonna be back to regular scheduled programming real soon. I have a theory video in the works, so I will be talking to you then. Have a great day. Bye.